F-H-E-R-D. We call it, I'm your stockbroker. You ask me questions. I give you a buy, a sell, or a hold. Here we go.
Time to
Buy, sell, or hold. I'd buy that for $1.
Colin will decide if he'll buy it, sell,
I want you to sell.
or hold.
Please hold.
Buy, sell, or hold, Rob Gronkowski will win Super Bowl MVP.
Gronk as the Super Bowl MVP. First of all, no tight end, it's kind of hard to believe, has ever won a Super Bowl Most Valuable Player.
Multiple linebackers have.
Yeah, multiple linebackers have. No tight end ever. And here's the other thing that's interesting. Gronk has not been that effective in Super Bowls, mostly because he's often been hurt. Because Gronk is hurt all the time. In fact, he's only had 8 receptions and 94 total yards in Super Bowls. So, John,
Sell.
Gronk will not be, once again, coming off an injury/concussion. Gronk will not win the MVP.
Buy, sell, or hold, Danny Amendola will be a non-factor in the Super Bowl.
How could that be? Danny Amendola, a non-factor? By the way, his 2 touchdowns this past weekend matched his 2017 season total, okay? Never forget this. Do you remember what happened last year in the AFC Championship game? Who was great last year for the Patriots in that AFC Championship game? Chris Hogan had 180 yards, 2 touchdowns in the AFC Championship. In the Super Bowl, he had 57 yards, no touchdowns. I can assure you that Danny Amendola will not have an amazing Super Bowl. John?
Buy.
Danny won't be a factor because in New England, they make sure whoever was a factor last game plays less of a role the next game.
Buy, sell, or hold, the Patriots will turn the draft pick they got from the Niners for Jimmy Garoppolo into an impact player on next year's roster.
Next year, they got that second-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, and the feeling is second-round picks are usually Pro Bowl players. Well, let's look at the New England Patriots' second-round picks since, 2003. Here's their impact ones, since Belichick's been there. Gronk, Garoppolo, Jamie Collins, Patrick Chung, and Sebastian Vollmer. So generously, we're being generous here, they've had 5 impact players in 20 picks in the second round. That's a 25% hit rate. John?
Sell.
That second round pick could be a nice player for them. The best one they've ever had is Gronk, and frankly, he's hurt a lot.
Buy, sell, or hold, Nick Foles will pass for more yards than Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
Well, this is an interesting one because you would subscribe to the theory that Brady is much better, won't be rattled. But remember this. Nick Foles may trail in the game. And if Nick Foles trails in the game, Nick Foles will be throwing the ball and Brady will be killing the clock. And remember, Brady's been outthrown by opposing quarterbacks 3 of his 7 Super Bowls, including by Donovan McNabb, probably one of the least accurate good quarterbacks in recent memory. Foles, by the way, outthrew Matt Ryan and Case Keenum, averaging 300 yards a game. Doug Peterson is a very clever offensive coordinator, and they have guys like Nelson Aguilar and Alshon Jeffrey that can actually go deep. New England really isn't a deep ball team. So actually, John,
Buy.
I think Nick Foles will pass for more yards than Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
Buy, sell, or hold, Doug Peterson is the coach of the year.
Well, listen, he lost his left tackle, he lost his MVP, he lost his middle linebacker, Jordan Hicks. You got to like the job that Doug Peterson did. But a big part of the success is Howie Roseman, the GM. The coach of the year, Doug Marrone, took a 3-13 team with mostly the same players to 10-6 in the AFC Championship. And the Rams went from 4-12 and unwatchable with a second-year quarterback to the best offense in football. I like Doug Peterson, but John,
Sell.
he is not the coach of the year. I'd give it to Sean McVay 1, Doug Marrone 2, Doug Peterson 3.
Last one, buy, sell, or hold. Kevin Love and Isaiah Thomas will not be teammates after the trade deadline.
Now, we're hearing a lot of things. They had a team meeting. Isaiah Thomas, according to a report today, went after Kevin Love. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, but here's a couple of numbers that are very interesting. Now, Kevin Love individually is a good player, and Isaiah Thomas, pretty good player too, right? But Kevin Love is shooting 34% when he's on the floor with Isaiah Thomas. 34%. Shoots 47% when he's not. And Isaiah Thomas shoots 35% when he's on the court with Kevin Love and 45% when he's not. Kevin Love and Isaiah Thomas don't work together. And I believe that Isaiah Thomas, a smaller athlete with an injury history, I'm going to roll the dice here. Bye! I think Isaiah Thomas or Kevin Love, one of the two will be traded before the trading deadline. And I think it could be, I know it's crazy, Isaiah Thomas. Story out today, he went after Kevin Love in that meeting, and I think he just jumped the shark in that locker room. Buy, sell, or hold on a Wednesday. You know, I will say this about LeBron James and that George Hill trade. It's funny, this morning I heard, did you hear about the George trade for the Cavs? And I'm like, Paul George? Oh, George Hill. 12 points a game, pretty good defender, gets hurt a lot, shoots about 45%. George Hill, nice player, not a great player, not going to beat the Warriors. Listen, there's only one move that makes Cleveland better this year. I mean, like, really better. That's Paul George coming to LeBron. But Oklahoma City's now playing pretty well. They've won 5 straight. They're a 5th seed in the West. They're 27-20. So Oklahoma City, they're starting to think, you know, this Paul George thing, it's working out. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Steve Adams, Carmelo Anthony, they're not trading him. So, you know, you hear the DeAndre Jordan rumors. That's not beating Golden State either. Maybe helps you as a rim protector against Boston. But listen, here's the way it works. The NBA's got 3 neighborhoods. There's 3 neighborhoods in the NBA. The first neighborhood is the best neighborhood. That's the Golden State Houston neighborhood. That's ocean views, big real estate values, and great schools. Okay, that only 2 people are in that neighborhood right now, Golden State and Houston. That every night you get a sunset. You're right on the beach. Great schools. Everybody wants to live there. The second neighborhood is Boston, Cleveland, Toronto, Minnesota, Oklahoma, San Antonio. And suburbs. They're nice. And they got a nice backyard. Schools are good, not as great as the other one, but they're good schools. Your kids can go there. Then the third neighborhood, that's the rest of the NBA. They're about 45 minutes out of town, long commute, and they don't have an ocean view. They don't have a view. They have a view actually of a local paper mill and a fish processing plant. That's the third neighborhood. And the problem is, the first neighborhood's great, and the second neighborhood is really nice too. But the problem is, if you've lived in the first neighborhood with ocean views, and then you have to move to the burbs, it ain't gonna do. You remember Ray Liotta, Goodfellas, the mob kid that went into the witness protection program? Remember what he said? Do we have that clip? Do you remember that?
Today, everything is different. There's no action. I have to wait around like everyone else. Can't even get decent food. Right after I got here, I ordered some spaghetti with marinara sauce, and I got egg noodles and ketchup. I'm an average nobody. Get to live the rest of my life like a schnook.
Once you've been a mobster and you go into witness protection, the burbs won't do. Once you've had 8,000 square feet on the ocean, great schools, the envy of the neighborhood, the burbs are a nice place to live, but not for you. LeBron's been oceanfront. You don't want to go back to the burbs. And right now, there's only 3 neighborhoods in the NBA. And LeBron used to be in the best neighborhood. Now, he's in a really nice neighborhood. For everybody except people who have been in the better neighborhood. And I think it's tough for him. And I don't think they can make any trade except the Paul George trade. And that's not going to happen. I'm with Christine on this. Houston feels right, and I think would be really interesting. Hour 3 next.
Hoops Week on FS1.
Back in business.
The best teams in the nation.
Michigan State.